Hill Bar and Grill in the Fort on Forest Avenue.
103 drives in right side, lays it up good.
Gets the outlet pass and slams at the other end. Launches a long three. Hits it.
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Hello and welcome to Rock Solid Sports. It's Friday night, and we have a loaded show for you tonight. I'm Jason. That's Dylan. We got Dom on the other side. We got Connor over at the very, very gracious Hill Bar and Grill, the one and only, home to spicy cheese bings. We have a lot on tap for you tonight. There's Vols sports. Major League Baseball had opening day. We've got hockey. The Ice Bears are going to the SPHL playoffs. We have a ton to talk about tonight. Thank you so much for choosing to join us on this Friday night. Again, I'm Jason. That's Dylan. We got Dom on the other side. Dom is over there on our live stream. We got Connor over at the Hill Bar and Grill. I'm going to start it. Just go around the table over here. Dylan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Jason. I would say it's a beautiful day for opening day baseball, but if you've been outside, it is cold and miserable like every other Orioles season since 1983.
Sounds about right. Dom, how about you, man?
I'm doing pretty great. Having a great time over here.
Oh, we are certainly glad to have you, and we are trying to get connected to Connor as well. Connor is having a few issues over at the Hill Bar and Grill, so hang tight, and we will get him on the air shortly. But let's go ahead and get into it. We had the baseball series last week against Vanderbilt. And the weekend before that, we had the series at Ole Miss. Obviously, both are on the road. The Vols were a good team, and they went down to Oxford, playing the number one team in the country, Ole Miss. And they beat them 10 ways to Sunday 3 days in a row.
Brooms.
Took their number one ranking and got back on the bus. And then they turned around and went to Nashville. And this is the big one, because not only are some of your recruits coming from Middle Tennessee, you have a premier college baseball program in your state that you are competing for recruits with, who is top 10 in the country also, probably top 5 by most metrics. And you go in and you sweep them too. How do you guys feel about this? Because this has me really excited for this upcoming series against Missouri.
And I was excited for the Ole Miss series in particular, because I'm sure we all saw on the internet that he who shall not be named threw out one of the opening pitches with a golf ball, which, if we remember the football game, that's a very infamous symbol. And we were able to pull a sweep out of that weekend, so kind of shoved it back in their faces. And then the Vanderbilt series is always a big deal. I'd say and we play them rivalry weekend in football, so that's definitely a meaningful thing, even though it's a completely different sport. But
I mean, anytime you have an in-state rival, that's always going to be something where you're going to have just a little bit more pep in your step. You're going to have that extra motivation because you want to beat the living crap out of anybody else in your state. You want to own your state. You want to lock down your borders, get all your best recruits, and you want everybody else in your state to know that you are the team to be beaten in this state, not them. And so in football, that's why you play them in rivalry week. But in baseball, when you play them at Hawkins Field in Nashville, and you go and you sweep them, not only sweep them, but sweep them in emphatic fashion, that's got to make you really excited going into this series against Mizzou.
Did we beat them in basketball too this season?
We did, and our own Jack Foster actually uncovered this statistic and wrote an article about it for Sports Illustrated. Shout out to Jack. It is the first time in the history of UT sports that Tennessee has swept Vanderbilt in the 4 major sports.
I was about to say that.
Football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and baseball. Because Vanderbilt does not have a softball team. But both basketball teams, they were 4-0 combined. Football won. Baseball went 3-0.
Can't lose in softball if you don't even have a team, but that's a win for us anyways.
Yeah. And so I see Aaron is in the comments from about 3 feet behind me asking whether or not he who shall not be named was Lane Kiffin, and I think you know that to be correct.
But we'll only say that once because there's a reason we call him he who shall not be named.
Yeah, and Aaron's hiding behind me on the camera right now. He knows his transgressions. But Dom, how are you feeling about this? Because I know that we have, this camera's giving us some hard times here today, but we know that this team has a really high ceiling.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about everything that this Tennessee baseball team has done, especially because it's been fun baseball to watch. This has been baseball that actually gets people excited about baseball because the bats are hot. Everyone's looking great. The pitching is lights out. It's just extremely fun baseball to watch. I'm very happy with the team, and I'm just happy that it's making this school into a self-titled baseball school, and I'm hoping that carries over to even when we do poorly. But, man, it doesn't look like we're going to do poorly anytime soon. We've just been incredible day in, day out with extremely good performances, high scoring, probably the most fun baseball you'll ever see.
Well, that actually brings up a question. Obviously, our answers kind of change depending on what season it is, but given the fact that the end of the year is coming up on us, would you say this year we've been a football school, a basketball school, or a baseball school?
I'm kind of feeling an everything school, to be honest.
That's the best possible scenario.
Yeah, I mean, we've performed really solid in everything. And mentioning football, I mean, I'm super excited with Coach Heupel at the helm. I think he's a great guy, and I think that football team's going to go far. And we did really well, all things considered, this season, losing so many guys. And then basketball team, of course, did great. Maybe not what we wanted to see in the tournament, but honestly, very happy to get the SEC tournament. But honestly, just great all-around UT sports going on right now, and I love to see it at all times of the year.
And having a balance of everything's always good. I remember last year we were a little concerned about the success of our football team, but obviously Coach Heupel was phenomenal. Happy that we'll be having him next year as well. Our basketball team obviously winning the SEC, great morale booster around campus, and then baseball team doing phenomenal right now.
Not even saying, the women's basketball team also did very well.
Exactly.
The Lady Vols are firmly on the up. Kelly Harper's got the Lady Vols rolling. You have Josh Heupel, who has the football team trending very much in the correct direction. Obviously, it's only been 1 year. You have to see some sustained success.
But even after getting it trending after 1 year, that shows you're doing something right.
Right, and those are the tangible milestones of progress that you did not see under the former regime. And because of that, I think Vols fans have every right to be a little bit optimistic about that. And then speaking of optimism, the Vols have like a zillion top prospects, top recruits on campus this weekend. So that's not even – I mean, you have Nico Yamaliava. He's already, on campus. He's playing at Bearden High School on 7-on-7 in this miserable weather with a couple other top recruits. You've got all these dudes on campus. You're trending in the right direction. You have plenty of guys who are crystal balled to you right now that will, probably commit to your school at some point. And it's such an important thing to be able to have that tangible progress. But while we have this here on football, I think we've got Connor on the line. Connor, what do you think about this football team? And then secondarily, how are things going over at the Hill Bar and Grill?
Well, the gambling on the Masters is at an all-time high with degenerates. But other than that, I'd say it's going pretty well.
All right.
And for the whole football thing, I need to see Heupel bring in a second quarterback and develop him, because I think so much of being a successful college coach is because you got to be able to have and develop a second quarterback, because so much of these teams are carried by just one guy balling out for
Absolutely.
3-4 years, and then after he leaves it.
I mean, case in point, Louisville under Bobby Petrino got carried by Lamar. But here's the thing about Josh Heupel that I think is going to make the difference. Not only was he a quarterback, and a pretty darn good one at that, he has developed quarterbacks and has gotten them to the next level. I mean, this man got Drew Lock drafted He's almost a magician.
Yeah, personally, too, I got to say I'm a huge fan of Heupel. Just everything he can do for quarterbacks, it's incredible. And the main thing I like about the guy is the energy he's brought back onto campus, because I feel like the energy was just so dead around the football team. And the number one thing that the UT department did right, that they needed to do, was bring energy back into football and make it more fun again. And I feel like Heupel's a guy who knows how to have fun. And I think that's why our guys are doing so much better now.
And I tell the story at least once a month. I remember coming in here freshman year. We were at Neyland, and the other, he shall not be named, came in and told us, we're not going to be very good this year, but stay optimistic and we'll still have a good time. Or I don't remember the exact words, but you guys get my point. That's not something you should admit to the upcoming freshman class.
Yeah, that's rough.
I mean, having, being able to go in and say, look, we have work to do. You don't have to go say we're not going to be very good. Just be like, we're going to be working towards our goals.
Mm-hmm.
You can say the same thing, but make it sound better.
Yeah.
And that
less pessimistic.
And that was something that the stale ham sandwich that was the previous coach didn't understand.
Don't you mean the stale McChicken?
Yeah, you're cut off after that one. All right, so moving into Vol basketball very briefly before we start talking about this baseball series against Missouri. We had a point guard declare for the draft this week in Kennedy Chandler. I don't think that was anything that anybody thought was going to be any different than it became, but people are still sad to see him go. And so I think personally, Kennedy Chandler's stock is firmly on the rise, and I think he did himself a bunch of favors in the tournaments, both on the SEC tournament for sure, and then the games played in the NCAA tournament. I think his stock is trending in the right direction as well, and I think he's going to end up probably a back end of the lottery pick, definitely top 20. And I think he is going to be the next great Tennessee Vol point guard to go to the league. Don't everybody speak at once.
I'll go. I'm pretty happy to see him make the decision for himself. I think it's a good decision on his end because, you get that opportunity once to make sure that you're going to have a good pick. And so I don't think it's a bad decision at all for him. But at the same time, I've seen too many undersized point guards who are really, really young still try to go to the NBA, and they get really disappointed after they do not instantly make an impact on a team. And I think that Kennedy is a guy, he's great, but it's going to take him a while to make any kind of impact on an NBA roster. He's going to have to put in a lot of work to get any kind of crack at starting time. And I think that, while he is great, it's going to be difficult for him.
Yeah. And so obviously losing a guy like that is going to be, detrimental to the team, but that's not to say that Rick Barnes isn't going to go in and replace, that production, finding somebody else. And somebody else that I think has been, an option for this team for over a year now, but I think is a real possibility this upcoming, this cycle, is Indiana State guard Tyreek Key. Now, bear with me. This guy is a walking bucket. He can create shots. He can create space. He can jump shoot. This guy can score. We talked about during the tournament, who is that going to be that can buy a bucket when times get tough and when the team goes cold? Inevitably, it became the reason that this team lost, was because nobody could buy a bucket. Tyreek Key of Indiana State is a walking bucket, and he is from Tennessee, has been at Indiana State for I think 4 years now, and he has visits set up to Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Porter Moser and Rick Barnes have flown in to see him. This is a very real possibility, and I think Tyreek Key is a name you really need to keep an eye on coming into next season because, yeah, you still got Zakai Ziegler, but Tyreek Key is a guy who can slot in and start right now and be tremendously productive as a grad transfer. This Tyreek Key averaged 17.2 points a game for Indiana State, and he has flashed brilliance for them against major opponents. And so because of that, you have to think that this is a very real possibility because it fills a need. He's from Tennessee. If I remember reading correctly, he was recruited by Rick Barnes at some point before. And so this is a guy you need to keep your eye on. Obviously, it's a developing story. We'll keep an eye on it as it goes. But Tyreek Key from Indiana State, he's somebody that I think everybody in Vol Nation would like if he ended up here on Rocky Top.
Yeah, I think he'd slot in real well, especially with our team needing guys who can consistently make threes, since that seems to be what our game is completely revolving around. I mean, if we really want to go back to why we lost in the tournament, 2 for 18 from 3, I mean, you don't really need to say much more, especially considering that we shoot a high volume of threes. And also, we can't forget that we're also getting BJ Edwards, another 4-star guard next season. So a lot to look forward still with Tennessee basketball. Really helpful for next season.
Absolutely. And Connor over at the Hill, what do you think? Feel free to hop in, by the way.
I'm sad to see him go, obviously. And it's
meaning Kennedy Chandler.
Personally, I do think he probably could use one more year, but he's so good of a talent that it's not worth the risk.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And Vol fans will be like, well, yeah, he probably could use another year of development. But here's what I have to say to that. Do you think he will get better playing against professionals every day for a living, or playing here as a side hustle to doing his schoolwork so he can stay eligible? That's really the only argument you need. He's about to get paid. Somebody's going to take a chance on him, and he's going to get a lot of guaranteed money. That door will not always be open. If he got hurt at Tennessee coming back next year, all that money could be gone. And it's really that simple.
For sure. One thing I'm actually starting to become curious about, though, is as these NIL deals get more popular, these great college players who are playing at big schools are getting the opportunity to get paid while still being at the collegiate level. So I'm really interested to see how that pans out for guys who, you know, are looking to go more so in the second round and late first round if they're at these big Power 5 schools that have the branding to get them good money. So I'm really interested to see how that shakes up recruiting in college basketball specifically.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think there are a lot of those fringe type of guys who would be able to make money because they're popular, because they make a tremendous impact at their schools. And, you know, obviously our example is John Fulkerson.
Yep.
He is not somebody that's going to go to the next level. He may get a chance to play overseas, but this is the highest stage he'll probably play at. And you know what? The man's popular. He can make all kinds of money, and he did. And so those type of guys are going to be a tremendous benefactor for the new NIL rules. I think, Dom, your point is very, very, very well taken, that those guys will have incentive to stay here rather than go pro. Caleb Swanigan from Purdue about 5 or 6 years ago is a prime example of somebody who probably would have benefited a tremendous amount because he was very popular at Purdue. He's a very good college player, but the guy grew up homeless. He decided he was going to go pro, whether he was a second rounder or whatever, because he needed the money. And he could have made money on his NIL deals and stayed at Purdue instead of having to just go pro. And then he ended up in the D League, and eventually he was just out of the league. But he had to take that chance when the chance was there so that he could put food on the table for his family. And I get that. Those are the type of guys that these NIL deals are going to help the most. And I think moving forward, you are going to see that is going to be a big deal. And then people talk about, oh, well, the transfer portal is just going to make NIL deals go through the roof. And I disagree. I think the transfer portal is going crazy right now because now these kids are finally being able to leave if they got lied to during recruiting. It's going to force over, you know, through this next cycle. And you guys, I would love to hear what you have to say about this. But my thought about the transfer portal is it forces coaches to be more forthright and honest with their recruiting tactics. No longer can you just get a kid to sign their national letter of intent and just say, ha, 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 I lied, you're stuck with me, unless you want to sit out a year. No longer is it like that. Because those kids can leave if they decide you lied to them and they don't want to be here anymore. And it's going to become a lot more transparent. And now that you're seeing that kind of cycle through, a lot of these kids that were kind of trapped are starting to leave. And then as it goes, I think these coaches are going to become more forthright from it.
The only thing I'll say to that is on the other side, you have people like Tate Martell.
I
Didn't
mean,
stay out of school for longer than a year. Should have. Never got to start. Career's over now.
well, those guys happened even before the transfer portal. Gunnar Kiel is another familiar name. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He was committed to IU, then he committed to like Notre Dame, and he ended up at Cincinnati eventually. And I think somewhere along the line he was at LSU. He was a 5-star quarterback out of Indiana, and then he ended up at 5 or 6 different schools, or at least committed to those different schools, and ended up at 3 or 4 at least playing, and then his career was over as well. Those guys have always been around, and they always will be. I think Tate Martell is the highest like profile one because he was on that TV show, but I think that those guys are more anomalous than not. Connor, would you agree with that?
Probably so. I just worry that maybe some people who actually do need to stay, maybe sit a year, put on some muscle, get a little better, whatever the case may be, may feel that they are getting lied to and that they have other opportunities. And then instead of just being patient, they could have a bunch of other situations. But you probably are right with it being more of an anomaly.
I definitely do think it is an anomaly, but it is what it is. It's the way it goes now. I think it's going to cycle through, settle down, and I think this is just going to become one of the other things that kind of happens during the whole like rule changeover.
Yeah.
And anyway, we do have an update as well. Real quick though, Dom, you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say the one thing that I do complain about with the transfer portal is just the addition of the NIL deals, because while I really like that I do agree very much that it will force coaches to be more transparent about their intentions with where these kids will end up playing and what spots they'll be sticking in. But what I do worry about is the mix of that with the NIL deals and the ability for these players to be able to chase money rather than necessarily choosing schools that are the proper fit for them when it comes to their athletic ability. Because, I mean, it does benefit the bigger schools a lot. And I want to see guys who are still going to these smaller places. I mean, I'm a Boise State fan, so I loved getting to see Kellen Moore.
Shout out to the Smurf turf.
Yeah. Loved getting to see Kellen Moore stay at Boise State and just remain a top-tier talent there. And I think with the addition of NIL deals, I think more players will be tempted to leave schools even if they're doing well there.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I think for every small school like Boise State, I think, and by small I mean mid-major, group of 5, what have you, however you want to describe that. I think that those schools, especially when they're good, like Boise State in the late 2000s, you talk about like Butler basketball, like 2008 to 12 or so, Villanova, those types of schools can still have tremendous value to these kids. And I think that's going to be the leveling of the playing field, as it were, because no longer are you going to see all the top recruits in basketball go to Kentucky and do. You're not going to see all the good football players go to Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson. Because other schools and their boosters can afford these types of deals, you're going to start to see this talent go, in a wider variety of places.
Yeah, I just definitely worry about the schools that don't have quite the same level of boosters who can afford to get the kids there that they want.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But at the same time, if your school is prominent, they're profitable. Boise State's a prime example of that. And I think, Butler, Villanova, those are schools that may not have big-time boosters either, but their profitability within their own market is pretty high because they're really good. You're from Boise.
Yeah.
And so you saw personally how popular Boise State was and still are, right?
Yeah, they've definitely maintained popularity. But what I do worry about is the fact that, in the 90s, they were still a JUCO and they don't have this huge alumni base. So I'm hoping that we'll still be able to get supported. But I think it's going to be more difficult for schools to make transitions from, D2 or whatever into D1 football.
Hey, potatoes are a very lucrative business. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I want to give a quick baseball update. We were, talking a little bit about the Vols. And I went on Twitter today and I said that I thought that the Vols would probably lose their first SEC game this week. I thought we would win the series 2-1. But we do have an update from Jack Foster. Our own Jack Foster is over there at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Chase Burns did not look sharp today. Weather probably caused some issues, but Burns was replaced by Will Mabry with 2 outs and the bases loaded in the top of the third. Mabry did get a ground out to leave him stranded, and the deficit is still only 2-0, but Burns didn't even go 3 innings pitched. Chase Burns today went 2 2/3, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, both earned, walked 4, struck out 5, faced 15 batters, and he threw 64 pitches, and only 35 of them were thrown for strikes. Both his thrown pitches and his innings worked are both career lows for Chase Burns today. The Vols are trailing Missouri 2-0 in the third inning. The weather is obviously a problem, but Chase Burns was not having a good day today. So we'll see if the offense can put this team on their back today.
And like I said at the start of the show, cold and miserable, just the way the Orioles season goes. Not a good weather for baseball.
Right. Well, we will definitely keep it tuned over. We're going to keep the base Vols news and updates coming your way. Like I said, we have our own Jack Foster and Joseph Bonanno both over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium covering the base Vols. And as we go to break, one last Vol news update. Quarterback Josh Dobbs has agreed to terms with the Cleveland Browns on a 1-year deal. And that is from Adam Schefter and also reported by our own Jack Foster. Shout out to Jack. We just keep giving his updates today.
Putting in work.
Jack really is putting in work. But with that being said, on the other side, we're going to talk some hockey because the NHL is in full swing. Playoffs are coming up, looming on the horizon. And your Knoxville Ice Bears are in first place in the SPHL. All of that and more coming up after a quick break here on Rock Solid Sports.
You're tuned to Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock WUTK. We've had it on shuffle for our listeners since 1982.
Hey, hey, the clouds are away. The straw for the donkeys and the innocents can all sleep safely.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Venue at thehillknox.com.
Support to keep WUTK on air comes from listeners and from the UT Athletic Department and the UT Lady Vols softball team, whose home season schedule at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium features games against SEC rivals Texas A&M, Auburn, and others. AllVols.com for Lady Vols softball tickets and more. UT students need a valid UT ID for admission to all home games. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports provides UT softball coverage. Volunteer Radio wishes the 2022 Lady Vols softball team good luck as they compete to return to the College Softball World Series.
Volunteer Radio stays on air thanks to Cool Beans, the 21-up college sports bar next to campus on Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles. HD TVs everywhere, along with darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. to late night. Burgers, wings, and sandwiches, Vol card accepted. Cool Beans hosts Rock Solid Sports every Monday night at 7. Trivia Tuesdays, Bingo Thursdays. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or CoolBeansBar.com.
Hey, we're the Aces, and you're listening to non-commercial, non-corporate college radio, WUTK 90.3 The Rock.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from listeners and from the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team, whose 2021-2022 home ice season includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, and others at the Civic Coliseum in downtown Knoxville. The Ice Bears regular season runs through April 9th, and season and single game tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Tune in to WUTK Rock Solid Sports for the Wednesday Ice Bears news and updates. Volunteer Radio says go Ice Bears.
Hey, this is Rob.
This is Derek.
From the Funhouse. For over a decade, we've been getting your weekend started right.
So grab a beverage or whatever it is you need to grab and tune in every Friday night at 8 o'clock.
On 90.3 The Rock, Volunteer Radio.
It's the best show in the universe.
The Funhouse, brought to you by Raven Records and Rarities at 1200 North Central Street in Happy Hollow, Knoxville. Source for new and pre-loved vinyl and more for nearly 40 years.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Hey, this is Trent Summer, and you're listening to 90.3 The Rock, streaming 24/7 at WUTKRadio.com. Go Vols.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletic Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 baseball Vols season begins in February and runs into May, featuring games with SEC rivals South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Season, group, and individual game ticket info is at allvols.com. Students need to show their valid UT ID at the gate for entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Volunteer Radio stays on air thanks to Cool Beans, the 21 Up college sports bar next to campus on Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles. HD TVs everywhere, along with darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. till late night. Burgers, wings, and sandwiches, Vol card accepted. Cool Beans hosts Rock Solid Sports every Monday night at 7. Trivia Tuesdays, Bingo Thursdays. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or CoolBeansBar.com.
Volunteer Radio thanks Wavely for their support. Wavely is the new job searching app that uses AI to match talent to the jobs they actually want. Instantly chat with employers instead of applying. Resumes can be shared at the click of a button. Employers can post available jobs quickly and get real-time reaction. The Wavely app is available in all the app stores. WUTK and Wavely representatives will have information at campus remotes along the Ped Walkway or inside the Student Union this spring, so stay tuned. More at Wavely.com.
Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock and our Sunday night World End Reggae music show Simmer Down, along with the Natty Lovejoys, present Spring Camp Reggae 2022, May 27th through 29th, high in the Smoky Mountains in Turtletown, Tennessee. Camp Reggae features live music from Natty Lovejoys, Dinner with Giants, and others, as well as camping, Jamaican fare, and more. No drugs, pets, or weapons allowed. WUTK's Simmer Down will be giving away passes. Tickets at campreggae.net.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smoky Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports. I'm Jason. That's Dylan. That's Dom. We got Connor over at the Hill Bar and Grill. And Connor, how's it looking over at the Hill tonight? It's kind of a dreary afternoon, but it always seems like it's lively over at the Hill Bar and Grill.
Yeah, all things considered and considering everything we have going on in Knoxville tonight with Elton John here and all the sports going, got a good crowd.
We love to hear that. Have you gotten yourself any food over there yet?
I have not, but you said those cheese things earlier, and they have been on my mind this entire time.
Listen, I recommend the spicy cheese bings. I also recommend the buffalo chicken mac and cheese, especially. Ask your bartender. Ask your bartender if they got the white cheddar mac tonight. But the white cheddar mac, buffalo chicken mac, that is elite, 100%. And you, too, can get that over at the Hill Bar and Grill at the end of Forest Avenue in Fort Sanders. We're going to have Connor over there until about 8 o'clock. Go say hi to him. Go get yourself some spicy cheese bings and tell him that Rock Solid sent you. All righty. So we have some hockey to talk about, Dylan.
Yeah, that's what you guys bring me on to talk about. Obviously, locally, the Ice Bears have been...
Well, let's do this NHL stuff first, and then...
Might as well, because we'll probably drag on about the Ice Bears for the next 10 minutes. NHL, we'll still keep it pretty local. Roman Josi gets his 86th point this season and 3-2 win over Ottawa, setting the Predators' single-season point record. I I'm still mad that he snubbed John Carlson out of the Norris Trophy last year, but ever since I've started really paying attention to the Predators, I've been more accepting of his talent, given the fact that Predators gave him the leadership role, put the C on his sweater. The man deserves...
That's for captain, for those that don't know.
I forgot. I keep talking in terms that when you play for 16 years, you have a certain vocabulary. Anyways, the man deserves every accolade that he acquires over his career. Hopefully we see more of him in the future and maybe even a Stanley Cup before he retires. But speaking of athletes, captains, whatever, with Stanley Cups, first of all, raise your hand if your team has a Stanley Cup. Love checking that in. Alex Ovechkin, the GOAT.
Notice how Connor did not chime in to say that he had one. Pretty
Low
noticeable.
blows over there. Low blows.
We love you, Connor. You just won a baseball championship. I don't want to hear it.
Anyways, Alex Ovechkin, who I'd say is the GOAT ever since Wayne Gretzky. I forgot we have a Penguins fan across the glass, but we'll save that argument for another time.
I don't know. I was told earlier that Vladimir Tarasenko was better than Alex Ovechkin.
No.
That's ridiculous. Even from a Pens fan, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a tongue-in-cheek comment. Just let it go.
No, I've always wanted to do this. Your mic's muted for saying that.
I'm the producer.
Anyways.
I'm your boss right now.
Ovechkin, 1,400 points after Washington's 4-3 win over Tampa.
The show went off the rails.
It
usually does.
This just establishes him as, in my opinion, the best thing to happen to hockey since Gretzky. We can debate this some other time, but
there's nothing really to debate. You're just wrong.
Yeah.
Moving on. All right, here's something you'll like, Jason. You'll probably argue this.
Oh boy.
Jonathan Taves played his 1,000th career game with Chicago last Sunday. Is he the best thing to happen to Chicago in a while?
As far as hockey? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, hockey-wise, yeah.
As far as hockey,
best thing to happen in Chicago in a while is probably the Cubs winning World Series, but you're a White Sox fan. Anyways, continuing on.
I think Jonathan Taves is the best Chicago athlete since Michael Jordan, as far as relative success and dominance in their own sport.
That's reasonable.
100%. I would say that.
Do you think he'll stay with Chicago at the end of the season, or is he going to move on to greener pastures?
I've been saying this all along. I think he and Patrick Kane both move on. When the time comes, I don't know, but eventually it's going to happen. And it hurts me to say that, but that's what I honestly believe. And so I'm preparing myself for it. And when the time comes, the time comes.
We always hate to see it, but moving on. Speaking of times changing, Austin Matthews, Maple Leafs record for most goals in a season with 56 after he scored twice in the 4-3 win over Dallas.
And for an original 6 team, that's a long history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the kind of sad thing is you have such a great player in Matthews, yet one of my favorite memories of him, he scored the first rookie to score 4 goals in his debut against Ottawa, if I remember correctly, and Toronto still managed to lose.
That's the most Leafs thing I've ever heard.
But
besides having their own emergency goalie beat them. But that's a story for another time, because we will touch on the SPHL, and there's an SPHL tie to that story. Just stay tuned for the end of the segment.
I'm almost done with NHL. 2 things left. The Sabres missed the playoffs for an NHL record 11 straight seasons. They didn't update the Wikipedia page on that. I was looking at it earlier, but it happened, and I pity Buffalo.
Is anyone surprised?
Nope.
No.
Buffalo's notorious for sucking. Anyways, finally, we like to talk about this guy a lot. We have plenty of guys that we say don't belong in the NHL. Brad Marchand, Tom Wilson, but this guy especially. Evander Kane was fined a maximum $5,000 for kneeing King defenseman Sean Dursey. Now, over the summer...
I'll take crap that does not surprise me for $1,000, Alex.
What are some of the things we've talked about with this guy? Gambling troubles, faking his vaccine.
Didn't he assault somebody too?
Can we just send him to Vegas already? Have him play on the Raiders?
Oh no! All right, with that, let's move on to the next topic. Let's just leave that be.
All right, we'll go to the SPHL reference you dropped just a second ago.
Yeah, so David Ayres, the goalie, the emergency goalie, he was the Zamboni driver for the Toronto Marlies AHL team. He was the house emergency goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And so when I said the
Hurricanes.
No, he was for them. He worked for the Maple Leafs though. And basically every arena has their own house emergency goalie that can play for either team should either team's goalies all get hurt. And one day it happened. When I said that was the most Toronto thing to ever happen, getting beat by your own emergency backup is that thing. And that was David Ayres. He played for the Carolina Hurricanes against them. And I said this had an SPHL tie to it. He was just named this week the head coach of the Vermilion County Bobcats of the SPHL. They can't get any worse. They have like 15 points on the season.
Yeah.
So they were just atrociously bad in last place. One of the worst hockey teams I've ever seen. There's nowhere to go but up, so good for them. And getting into the SPHL now, you know who's not crap in the SPHL and who's not in last place?
In fact, doing the exact opposite.
Your Knoxville Ice Bears are in first place and can clinch the regular season championship tonight with a win at Evansville or a Roanoke loss.
That seems exciting. As long as Roanoke loses, I think we'll be fine. So,
sorry, not Roanoke, a Peoria loss.
There we go.
That's the one. My fault.
Okay.
But all things said, tomorrow, final regular season game. The magic number is 1 for your Ice Bears to clinch the number 1 seed in the playoffs, the regular season championship. The puck drops tomorrow, 7:35 p.m.
We will be there.
Yep. Dylan and I will be there. Come say hi. If you find either of us,
we'll be the ones running around in suits.
Right. There's a few people like that, but I mean, look, we're hard to miss. All right. Yeah. So anybody that's watching on our Facebook stream, like I said, we're hard to miss.
Look for these guys.
We'll be there tomorrow. And again, 7:35 puck drop. Make sure to go out and support. It's RC car night, so you're going to get some entertainment. Kids and adults and everybody's going to be having a grand old time driving their RC cars on the ice.
It's also fan appreciation night, and I've heard that every player will be available for autographs after the game. So
the little birdie never lies. And so with that being said, again, the Ice Bears puck drop tomorrow is at 7:35, and then Wednesday. Normally it's Ice Bears Wednesday, but it's really going to be Ice Bears Wednesday because we're going to have to be there for the playoffs. Yeah. And it's probably going to be against the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs. That is not confirmed, but it's like 99% likely. That's going to be what happens. Again, Ice Bears playoffs start on Wednesday. They are a heck of a lot of fun to go and watch. Get out to the Civic Coliseum. Go see them play. And let's go win the President's Cup.
I'd love to see it. We've been talking with Coach Carr all season. By the way, Ice Bears Monday with him.
Is that confirmed?
I don't think so, but that's the goal.
Yeah, we are working to get Coach Carr on Monday night as well. Watch our Twitter for updates on that. But
if we can do a live celebration with him after, knock on wood, a championship season, then that might be the coolest thing we ever do on this show.
Honestly. But with that being said, that is our hockey segment.
Yeah, that's what you guys bring me on to talk about, and I did just that.
We love hockey on this show, and we love the Knoxville Ice Bears. Go see them tomorrow night. Go see them Wednesday night. Listen to Ice Bears Wednesdays throughout the season.
With the exception of Monday.
With the exception of next week, we'll probably have Ice Bears Monday. We're working on that.
But I'll probably still talk about it on Monday anyways, regardless of if...
Yeah. We're going to talk about it Monday anyway.
We're still having a good time.
Absolutely. May or may not be interviewing Coach Carr, but that's beside the point. We love talking to Coach Carr. The next time we get to do it will be a lot of fun as well. But we are going to take it to a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to talk about opening day because for a few of us, opening day was yesterday. For me, opening day was today.
I've had it twice already.
That's not how opening day works. With that being said, we're going to commercial.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
Support to keep WUTK on air comes from listeners and from the UT Athletic Department and the UT Lady Vols softball team, whose home season schedule at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium features games against SEC rivals Texas A&M, Auburn, and others. AllVols.com for Lady Vols softball tickets and more. UT students need a valid UT ID for admission to all home games. WTK's Rock Solid Sports provides UT softball coverage. Volunteer Radio wishes the 2022 Lady Vols softball team good luck as they compete to return to the College Softball World Series.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from listeners and from the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team, whose 2021-2022 home ice season includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, and others at the Civic Coliseum in downtown Knoxville. The Ice Bears regular season runs through April 9th, and season and single game tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Tune in to WUTK Rock Solid Sports for the Wednesday Ice Bears news and updates. Volunteer Radio says go Ice Bears.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smokies Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Trevor from Moon Taxi, and you're listening to Volunteer Radio, 90.3, UT's College of Rock.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletic Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 baseball Vols season begins in February and runs into May, featuring games with SEC rivals South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Season group and individual game ticket info is at allvols.com. Students need to show their valid UT ID at the gate for entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Hey, this is Rob.
This is Derek.
From the Funhouse. For over a decade, we've been getting your weekend started right.
So grab a beverage or whatever it is you need to grab and tune in every Friday night at 8 o'clock.
On 90.3 The Rock, Volunteer Radio.
It's the best show in the universe.
The Funhouse, brought to you by Raven Records and Rarities at 1200 North Central Street in Happy Hollow, Knoxville. Source for new and pre-loved vinyl and more for nearly 40 years.
Are you having fun over there?
I always am.
Well, this is the Foo Fighters. Let us take one moment to respect. Thank you. Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports. It's Friday night. I'm Jason. That's Dylan. That's Dom. We got Connor over at the Hill Bar and Grill. Connor, how was your opening day?
Well, it did not go as I wanted, but
hey, you and me both.
And it was also we talked about this a little earlier. I'm a wreck emotionally seeing Freddie Freeman in Dodger Blue, and then all the whole thing coming out with him.
Let's hear from Dom about that too.
Oh, it feels pretty good to see Freddie Freeman in Dodger Blue, especially with how well he did in spring training.
I forgot
about
about this. I forgot about this, Connor. I swear I did not do that on purpose.
Man, it feels good.
You know, it's even worse today because after I got home from the station for my morning, DJing, there was a car parked in my space, and of course, all covered in Dodger stickers.
Hey, Dom, was it you?
No, I don't have a car here. Although if I did, it might look somewhat similar.
All right. So since Dylan is a bandwagon fan, he has two opening days. Tell me about your opening days.
Well, the Nationals
you bandwagon fan?
The Nationals one didn't go too well. Where'd it go?
Well, we don't even need to hear about the Orioles. We know that one went bad too.
No, of course. Well, it wasn't that bad, but we'll get to it. Nationals lost 5-1 to the Mets. It was kind of weird because Max Scherzer's on the Mets now, so he beat his own team. As for the Orioles, surprisingly not bad. I know I joke about them being horrible. Oh, actually, speaking of the Nationals, to backtrack a little bit, up 1-0 against the Mets, top the third.
Lots of time for that to go south.
But it always is for sports in the DMV. But the Orioles lost 2-1 to Tampa. What can you say? It's the Orioles. We expect them to lose. Last year we went on, I think it was like a 12-game win streak to start the season, and we were just constantly pinching ourselves to make sure we were watching the right baseball team. And then reality set in, and we went back to sucking.
Yeah, sounds about right. Dom, how was your opening day?
Call me a terrible fan, but I have not checked any scores for baseball yet.
I mean, it's not really like you have to check. We know probably what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Dodgers. I figured they won, but I can't look it up right now because I'm using my phone for the StreamYard.
Oh, we'll look it up then. How about that?
Yeah. Do you know how the
Siri, what is the Dodgers score?
What'd you say there, Connor?
I said the Dodgers were beating the brakes off the Rockies earlier.
Yeah, it looks like 5-3.
5-3. Siri has told me that the Dodgers
Closer
won.
than it was.
There we go. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the Dodgers tend to win things. Not really surprised. My main takeaways are the Dodgers are still a great team.
Regardless of who you support, though, the vibe for opening day is always great. I know we give everyone a lot of crap on which football jersey you're wearing, which hockey jersey, which basketball jersey, I guess. But, I've gotten so many, good luck wishes and just, high fives from people wearing – I've seen a few Pirates jerseys. I saw a Rockies jersey today. Everyone is just in such a good mood for baseball now that it's back. And we were a little worried that it wouldn't be back, but it's that time of the year. There's a reason they call it America's pastime. It's possible to hate baseball, but if you do, you're wrong.
I 100% agree. And while we're at it talking about baseball, Jack Foster has sent me another update. Still 2-0. Mabry struck out the side in the top of the fourth after a pair of Tigers got on base to begin the inning. Big time stuff from Mabry. Vols have one on third with one out in the bottom of the fourth. So the base Vols are inching closer. Hope to see that run get pushed across. Again, the base Vols are playing against Missouri, a school that head coach Tony Vitello is very, very familiar with, being the former pitching coach over there. He was the pitching coach for multiple future major leaguers, such as Kyle Gibson of the Phillies and Max Scherzer of who again?
The Mets.
The New York Mets.
Hey, won a World Series with the Nationals. I still have the shirt back home. It just doesn't fit me anymore.
But with that being said, definitely go to Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend. Check the boys out over there. They're playing Missouri.
Maybe a team in orange won't disappoint you.
Wow.
Hey, we like to make fun of ourselves. At least we're self-aware.
Right.
If the baseballs lose today, we can blame my parents. They're up here at the game. They've never been to a baseball game in their life. So,
oh boy.
Go ahead and take part of the blame for that.
Well, regardless, we still need to talk a little bit about some predictions for the season. So my opening day went really badly today.
Who didn't?
I mean, honestly. Besides Dom.
Yeah.
Over there.
Good.
Well, you're a Dodgers fan. You have an easy life.
True.
Yeah, I need the Dodgers to win one more thing, though. I need them to win the bid for Chelsea.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I'm horrified that it's going to go to the Ricketts, who own the Chicago Cubs. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of Chelsea supporters are not really exactly fans of the Ricketts family. And so, we'll see how that goes. They have some talking points in regards to those guys. So it is what it is. Regardless, I want to go around the table here before we go and pass this on to the Funhouse. Who you guys got in the World Series? Who you got winning it?
Do you want my brain or my heart's answer?
Always go with your brain because your heart's going to let you down.
All right, probably the Dodgers again.
Woohoo.
Oh, over who?
I don't even want to think that far in the future because I'll be unhappy with the result regardless.
That's a cop-out answer. Dom, who you got?
I mean, obviously, I got my Dodgers winning it all, but I think that the Yankees could maybe do something pretty.
I don't want to see that.
I think it would be a lot of fun to see just because, it's a big matchup. It's kind of two of the biggest teams in the U.S. And I mean, it'd be It'd be similar to seeing like, the Duke UNC matchup, except for both those teams are pretty universally hated.
And it would be kind of cool if the two biggest cities in the U.S. were competing for the World Series. And a few years ago, we had that for the Stanley Cup with the Kings and the Rangers with L.A. going over.
Why'd you bring that up?
I forgot. The Blackhawks got disappointed for that.
Yeah. All right, Connor, are the Braves going to repeat?
Unfortunately, probably not. I don't see it necessarily happening right now. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for saying this, but Matt Olson is a 252 career hitter. And Freddie Freeman is a 303. And I get he played in Oakland. And so he'll get like probably 10 points back, foul balls. But I don't know. It's something thrown off last night. And out of sheer spite, the Dodgers probably win it.
Well,
and then if I got one more thing before we go, who the hell's idea was it to make opening day the same day as the Masters?
Well, you got to thank the owners for the lockout for that one. My World Series pick, I'm going to, I hate to just go universally with the Dodgers, but
I don't.
We know. I'm going to take the Dodgers over the Yankees as well. But with that being said, we are out of time. I'm going to turn it over to the fun house here when Usher is done playing. Go out and see the Ice Bears tomorrow. Go see the Base Vols this weekend. Go support your Lady Vols next week against Texas A&M. We got a lot of crap going on campus, in and around town. Let's see. What is it you always say, Dylan? How do you end your...
Be good to animals, watch hockey, and stay awesome.
Love your neighbor. We'll see you next week.